everyone, I'm Laura and welcome to my Arts and Crafts channel. This week I wanted to paint this pen sketch using acrylic swipe and brush techniques. The pen sketch is inspired by a series called A Haunting of Bly Manor. So the creators have not sponsored this and I have no ownership of any part of that original series. All materials I've used for this piece are listed in the description. Okay, let's paint. I'm starting with the acrylic swipe. I'm using a 60% PVA glue and 40% water pouring medium. I've lightly outlined the silhouettes on the canvas and I just use the Paddlepop stick and my fingers to place the paint where I want it to go. Then I come in with the Reeves Metallic Gold, then an Orange by Liquitex, and then a Cadmium Red medium by Atelier. I'm trying to concentrate the lighter hues like the gold and the orange further towards the top, and I want there to be more red down the bottom of the canvas. So now I'm going in for the acrylic swipe. The idea is to swipe the main colour, which in this case is the skin colour, over the top of the layered paints on the outside of the canvas. So here I'm using a chef's torch or a creme brulee blowtorch to pop any excess bubbles that are in the paint still. I've let my first swipe dry completely before attempting to start on the second. For the second one, I have deliberately chosen a lighter skin colour because I don't want the characters to have exactly the same skin tone. Here I'm using the same technique to layer my paints, the difference being I'm using some different colours. So I'm still using Reeves Metallic Gold, but I'm also using a medium magenta and a light portrait pink. Just popping any extra bubbles. If you don't have a piece of plastic, you can always use a paper hand towel, spray it lightly with some water so that it's damp, not soaking wet, and then use that to swipe. Once everything is completely dry, I come in using my brush technique. And here I'm mixing up the colours to make the lightest highlight for the skin tones. So I'm using about 3 parts of yellow ochre to 1 part of cadmium red medium. So this is what that basic combination looks like. From here I just keep adding titanium white until I bring that colour value to where I want it to be. With portraits, I generally start by blocking out the lightest areas of the face first. I use the brush to place down the pigment and then I use my fingers to blend it out. By pulling some of that highlight colour out into the acrylic swipe, I'm just giving the painting more of a coherent feel. So I mix up that same base skin tone colour using the yellow ochre and cadmium medium red, and I start putting in the darkest parts of the face. I want to make a nice gradient from the brightest highlights to the darkest shadows. So I slowly lighten my darkest yellow ochre and cadmium medium red mix by adding the highlight colour to it slowly and pulling out the shadows until they meet the highlights. Throughout this whole process, I've basically been using a Windsor and Newton 3mm blending brush. This whole process took me a couple of hours per face. And sorry about all the constant light changes, I'm pretty much just relying on my kitchen lights and some natural light. Okay, time for the second face. I really did struggle a lot more with this side, but I did start by blocking in some of the darkest areas. I also ended up using a pen to very lightly mark out some of her features. I just start blocking out the highlighted areas using a shade that's just a bit darker than the previous face. I ended up darkening some of the highlight colour to start creating that shadow gradient. I found that if I'm struggling with a particular portion on a piece, changing up my process a little bit tends to help. And here's where you see the face really starting to take shape. And I'm finishing off by dragging the highlighted colour into the acrylic swipe. Everything has dried completely and it's time to start on the background. So I'm now using a size 14 brush and I'm going to be using Payne's Grey and Titanium White to create a nice gradient background. I'm being very careful not to accidentally paint over all the hard work I've done on the faces. In hindsight, I would probably do the background before I even start doing the acrylic swipe. That way I won't have to worry about it quite so much. The idea is to layer on the Payne's Grey and then the Titanium White and then blend both these colours together to create a sort of mid-tone in the middle. So I just go back and forth, pulling the Titanium White up into the Payne's Grey and pulling the Payne's Grey down into the Titanium White. So this technique only works while the paint is still wet and acrylics dry fairly quickly. So if you want a really nice smooth gradient, I have to work quickly or I have to do it in layers. So I'm doing a lot of this in my kitchen, so there are some people walking in and out of frame. Sorry about that. And I'm starting to get that smooth gradient that I was looking for. And this is the finished product. I love how surreal it is. That blending technique has given them this almost statue-like feel, which I really love. I'm not completely happy with how the acrylic swipe turned out, so I might go back and embellish that a little bit. I'm really happy with the background. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Hit like and subscribe if you like, and thanks for watching.